Thank you for joining me for this show today. I am so glad you're here. As always, you are the important key in this because you're the important part of church security at your own church, protecting your own people. So let's get to talking today about 5 incidents, 5 things that we need to prepare for, in my opinion, for this holiday season. But first, I just want to remind everyone that we do have our Armed Church Security training course is currently in open enrollment. So go to the link in the description or go to churchsecurityanswerman.com. I would strongly suggest just hit the link in the description and it'll take you right to more information on that course. And we get lots of great reviews on that course. It covers lots of things from church violence to crisis management and guns in church, emergency response, patrolling churches. There's so much. I encourage you to go take a look at the link. Go look at the class just a little bit more. There's reviews there. There's more on the curriculum for that training. Get yourself a certificate and help boost your information relative to church security. So let's talk about our topic today, preparing for this holiday season, 5 things that I want to point out to you that I think we need to prepare for. And the first one is medical issues. Those are going to happen. If we look at the Bureau of Justice statistics and their information, it tells us they compile all kinds of police reports and information throughout the year. And they tell us that one of our number one issues, one of our main issues, is medical related issues. So we need to get prepared for those, especially during this holiday season where we're liable to see people that we don't normally see. Some people that may be struggling to get out are going to get out so that they can attend church. And so you and I need to be working on being better prepared for that. And how do we get better prepared? We look at our first aid kits, our medical bags, and we may not be we may not be highly trained in medical response, but I would recommend that you think about having a medical bag available in case you have a nurse or a doctor or an EMT who is trained, that you can have the supplies there for them and maybe consult with one of them about what you need in that bag. But it's really about getting into discussing what do we need to do to be better prepared and maybe identifying who's can respond medically, or maybe seeing if we need to take a course, but just being better prepared for that and knowing that is one thing that's likely to happen at churches all over the nation, all over the world, for those of you listening internationally. Next, we got to prepare for those service interruptions because they're going to happen. They do happen throughout the year. And is it possible that it might happen to you statistically? It's likely that you're going to happen. We're a smaller church, but we tend to have 3 to 4 of these incidents a year where we're stopping people who have mental health issues that are contemplating coming into our service and interrupting them. Simply, they're thinking they're going to deliver a message to our congregation because a voice told them they need to do that. And so you will tend to see those every once in a while. So we need to be prepared for those. And I would challenge you to think about that if you're not sure what to prepare for, especially for the upcoming holiday season. And, and in that, I want to also help you. I'm not just here to give you a lecture, but I want to make sure and help you, and our team wants to help you. And so 4 years ago, we did one of our most popular church service interruption videos, and it was just showing you an example of one that happened, and we talked about that. So I would encourage you to go back and take a look at that. In October of 22, we did a video on how to ask someone to leave. And by the way, I'm going to put links in the description down below to each of these videos, so you can go and take a look at them just to brush up and help your team a little bit or help yourself. So how do you ask someone to leave? There'll be a link in the description for that video. And then in April, we did a de-escalation techniques video. And so I'm going to link to that in case you have to ask somebody to leave or those kind of things and things get a little bit crazy. Go take a look at that video just to brush up just a little bit. So service interruptions, plan for those possibilities to happen and just discuss them. That's all we have to do. We don't have to have a huge training. Let's just talk about it. We can do that before service this next week. We can have a quick 5-minute discussion on what would we do if this happened. And that helps our brains tremendously during those situations. The other one that we can look at, because statistically, according to Bureau of Justice statistics and incidents, domestic issues will happen at our church. People are having problems at home, and those come to church. And people are having issues and decide to go to church because they're in crisis. So it brings those kind of disputes and stuff to church. Or if somebody has served someone with a no contact order, then they come to church, and then all of a sudden that person that they served with that order from the courts comes to church also. Then all of a sudden they're at the same place, and that's not supposed to be when there's a no contact order. So generally. So, and then there's child custody issues involved in those. And what do I recommend on those? This is a complicated and can be a very heated situation. So my recommendation for these domestic dispute situations, whether it's arguing over who has custody and who should be picking up the kids from the kids zone or the church Sunday school, or if it's somebody saying I have a restraining order against my husband or my wife or that person, I suggest that early on you call the police, because they're the only ones who can really know if there is a restraining order, a no contact order, and they're the ones that can interpret this. These can be heated discussions, so they can be dangerous because of lots of emotions involved, as well as it's an area where you and I get inserted into this too much. We could find ourselves maybe being liable for kids going to a parent that they shouldn't, or we're allowing someone to stay at church where someone else is and they shouldn't be there. So I suggest for these types of situations that you get the police involved early on, which takes a discussion because it kind of goes against the grain. We want to love people, and now we're taking sides by calling the police is the way it can be interpreted. But I see that you're just trying to keep everybody safe and remain out of being too liable for this situation by calling the police early on. Next, I think we need to prepare as Soli Deo Music, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but that Soli pointed out to us this week in the comments section on YouTube that the police can be delayed and sometimes may not respond to stuff. And that's exactly right, Soli. And thanks for reminding us of that. So you and I need to be talking about that. What are we going to do if we have a service interruption or a domestic issue over custody or restraining order or no contact order? What are we going to do if the police don't show up for 45 minutes? And we need to talk about how we're going to separate parties that are involved in a domestic issue, and one at one end and one at the other, and we're going to stay with them and make sure that we protect the people. And, you know, if it's a service interruption, where are we going to take that person that they don't continue to maybe yell and scream and interrupt the service, even though it's 1 or 2 rooms over? How are we going to deal with that if the police don't show up? Where are we going to go? And how many of us need to go to make sure everybody's safe if we take that person out in the parking lot or down to a side room out of the way? We want to make sure everybody's safe, and we want to protect our liabilities. So don't forget, if it's a female and you're a male, make sure you have a female there that's helping you with security, or at least grab a female greeter to go with you. So at least you have a female witness there with you. If you're taking them to a side room or out in the parking lot, you want to make sure that you're protecting your liabilities. And then, of course, always, you know, I want to encourage you, even though it's not likely to happen to your church, statistically, it does happen. And I want to encourage you to have some discussions about active shooters or violent intruders. And it doesn't matter if you're armed or unarmed. What are you going to do in those situations? And you need to have that discussion amongst yourself, your team, with your teammates, with your team leader or your church leader. Whatever that is, make sure that you're prepared for those items as well. So I want to encourage you to, you know, do a little something when it comes to the holidays, a little extra preparation, because we tend to get busier. The holidays can get more emotional for people, and there can be more issues that crop up. And these are the things statistically that you and I need to prepare for that we're discussing here. So I want to encourage you to do that. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And then I would also recommend that you take a look at this video right here to continue your studies and join me over there for a little bit more information.